Hello and greetings from Bath in the UK. Cumprimentos aos meus leitores no Brasil. I'm Rachel Ward and I'm the author of the Numbers trilogy. I'm really happy that there's so much interest about my books in Brazil, and I would especially like to thank the following people for sending me questions: Pedro, Karen, Ana Carolina, Esperando, Katie, Maria or Marilla, I don't know, Patricia Andrea, Byzinia, Larissa and Israel. I'm going to tell you a little bit about writing and about my books and about me, and hopefully I will have answered your questions by the end. The central idea of Numbers is that my main characters have a gift, which is when they look in your eyes, they can see a number, and that number is the date of your death. The idea came to me out of the blue one day when I was walking my dog, and I don't really know where the idea came from, and I don't explain in the books where the gift came from. So we can speculate that it maybe came from Jem's mum or Jem's dad, but I don't ever spell that out. I don't know how much of me is in the books or in Jem, my main character, or any of my other characters. I actually suspect there's quite a lot of me in her, and my emotions and my thoughts. And I think Jem expresses these in a different way to me. We're quite different characters. But I think when you're writing, you don't really know how much of yourself you're putting into the books. It just happens unconsciously. And maybe you give away all your secrets without knowing. I wrote Numbers, the first book, very, very quickly. I was writing around my day job then, so I would write very early in the morning, before I woke my family up and before I went to work. And I was offered a contract for Numbers by the first publisher that I showed it to. But before then, I had 2 books rejected because they weren't good enough. And I didn't do any writing courses or study formally. I just taught myself to write by doing it, by writing books. For the story of the first book, I knew the beginning and I knew the end, but I didn't know how I would get from one to the other. So I just set off hopefully and made it up as I went along. I always knew what would happen to Spider at the end of the book. I was tempted to change the ending, but I actually stayed true to my original idea, even though it's very sad. I try to write every day, and sometimes I set word targets, so maybe I'll write 1,000 words a day or 1,500 words a day. I write in short bursts, and I have lots of breaks, so I find it easier to concentrate like that. And if you want to write, my tips for writers are that you should try and get into the habit of writing every day. Write about something that interests you or fascinates you or even frightens you. And read widely. It's very important to read. Read other young adult novels if that's what you're trying to write, but read all sorts of things, and unconsciously you'll pick up tips and you'll find out what you like reading, and it will help you to be a better writer. I like everything about writing. I love the ideas stage, which is very exciting when a book first sort of comes into your head, and I like writing the first draft, because then you're the only person in the world to know about your characters and what's going on in their lives. It's like having a secret life. The editing is probably the hardest part. It's really hard work. but it's satisfying in the end because you end up with a book that can be published. And I love promoting my books too. I love going into schools and talking with readers and hearing their ideas and responding to their questions too. I've been really, really surprised at the success of my books all around the world. And I'm not sure why it's happened. I'm really happy that it has. I think maybe because there are themes in my books that are universal. So the experience of being a teenager, the experience of feeling alienated, sort of falling in love, and also coming to terms with mortality, which is something that we all have to do, and it's something that my books centre on. I didn't intend Jem to be a prophet, but actually maybe she is. She certainly learns lessons through the book, big important lessons like learning to appreciate every day and finding room for love in your life. So maybe she is a prophet. I'm very interested that my books are finding an audience in Brazil. I studied Brazil when I was at school, but that's 30 years ago now, so it's quite a long time. I enjoy writing books in settings that I know well. So in Numbers, part of the book is in Bath where I live, and I really enjoyed that. So I haven't yet set a book in Brazil like some famous books are now, but maybe if I travel more widely, I'll find new settings for my books. So you never know. So thank you very, very much for reading Numbers and for being interested in my books. I hope I've answered your questions, and I hope that you enjoy reading the second book, The Chaos, and the third one, Infinity. And thank you very, very much. Goodbye.